There we go. And we're off. What's up? Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another bonus edition of the New Music Monday podcast. Bridge City Boys presents the New Music Monday podcast. And I am the host of the New Music Monday podcast, Dev Del Molino. And right now we're working on that season 5, episode 23. We are getting that ready. That is episode 74 of our show. And let me turn this down a little bit. Yeah, we're working on that episode. We are going to talk about the Mad Lib album that's coming. And I've been looking forward to that. And now that it's out, I'm looking forward to reviewing it. But I definitely need another couple listens to that before we get started there. We're also going to have some really cool guests coming on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow, as in I'm recording this the day before we record the podcast. Yeah, we're going to have multiple guests coming in again. So it's going to be another lively episode. It's going to be another busy episode. And with this Mad Lib project, I'm sure we'll have plenty to say about the music week, even though it wasn't like the most explosive. But when the GOAT drops, I mean, you got your hands full. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that episode. If you're listening now, please make sure that when that drops, you run right to it and you check out what we got to say about that Mad Lib project and about these guests that we have coming on to the show, because I'm really excited about everything that we're going to talk about. So, again, I'm Dev Del Molino, and again, we're doing another bonus edition of this podcast where I'm coming in and just dropping off a quick multi-review for you guys. 3 projects. Just going to come in here and give you really off-the-cuff opinions about them, my thoughts thus far. And these are albums that are interesting to me, but definitely we might not have had time to really get to them on the show, like on a regular old episode of the podcast. So, and I have also been really wondering for some time now, how do I get to 2 podcasts a week? How do I get to sort of doubling the amount of content that we're delivering to you guys and keeping those wait times between episodes shorter, you know? So part of that has been giving y'all longer episodes. And another part of that now is going to be these bonus episodes halfway through the week. And while I don't know that I'll do them every single week, I think there's going to be enough projects that we don't talk about on the podcast to make this a pretty regular occurrence and clean up some of the music that just doesn't get a chance to get talked about when we're in the middle of doing things. So without further ado, I want to say thank you guys again. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple or wherever, or if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. And also, if you are just one of these people that likes to hear bonus content from us, I mean, thank you again. It's really amazing. And again, I am looking forward to just producing, again, almost like twice as much stuff this year, I hope. And provided that I just quit my job, one of my 2 jobs, I kind of have some more time to be doing things just like this and spending more time with the podcast and making it a better, more fulfilling experience for you guys when you listen. So really great things in store for me personally, really great things in store for the podcast. And in general, you know, we just taking this shit to the moon. So let's talk about music, because we got a few projects to get through. And the first one that we're going to talk about, I'll lay them all 3 out for you real quick. First one we're talking about, Doc D, Planetary Destruction. And if you don't know what that is, then we'll get to explaining it. Second, I'm going to switch pace a little bit. We're going to talk about an album called Drunk Tank Pink, and it's by a band called Shame, excuse me. And finally, we're going to come back to the hip hop side of things, and we're going to talk about Kota the Friend and the second installment of his Lyrics to Go EP mixtape series thing. So here's what we got. We got 2 casual projects, 2 mixtape EP type things, and we got a sophomore album in the Shame project. So let's talk about Doc D. Now, who is Doc D? I expect y'all to know, but I wouldn't be surprised if no one caught on to the fact that Logic went to Dat Piff to drop a Dat Piff exclusive mixtape like it's 2010, 2009, 2011, somewhere in that range. Um, yeah, if you went to go look on this or look for this on Spotify, Apple, Tidal, I'm pretty sure you won't find it. Uh, you pretty much like, again would have to go to Dat Piff. You'd have to go to a SoundCloud. You'd probably have to hear it off of YouTube, which I think is perfectly accessible, especially for Logic. He is a big enough artist, but most people aren't like me. They don't keep that Dat Piff app on them at all times like I do. So y'all know for me, it was real easy to just slide over and check it out. Like, just stream it. Because I do keep that app. I do think it is a handy app to go back and listen to Currency and Wiz Khalifa and Wale and fucking Gucci Mane and all that shit I used to like in the past. But every now and again, there's a project out there that kind of makes sense to go to Dat Piff to listen to, particularly when they don't put it on any other platform. So here we are, back on Dat Piff like it's 2009. And Logic, alias, Planetary Destruction. He's going by Doc D, which, sounds a lot like Dr. Doom or MF Doom or, something of that nature. If y'all heard what I had to say on the podcast about my initial perception of this project, it was like, this looks a lot like it's going to be like a Deltron 3030 type thing. And then I thought it was real hilarious to then see Del the Funky Homo Sapien featured on the project. But really, it's actually a lot more than that. There are a lot more influences that go into this. And overall, Logic has just always been one of those guys that wears his influences very clearly on his sleeve. So if you were like me, and you were listening to Under Pressure back in 2015, that was, or so, you might have had the thought that I did, like, this sounds a lot like Good Kid, Mad City, and with other projects of his or from that time frame, just in general, he kind of does the Kendrick Lamar thing. He kind of evokes Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole a lot, and he also sort of wears his influences directly, right? Like, again, to reference Under Pressure, he uses the Midnight Marauders, A Tribe Called Quest interludes in his own way on that project. And, there's even one where it says, like, this project and that project and this movie and this and that were on all the time when this album was being recorded. So clearly that's just kind of how his process works. And so it's really no surprise to me to get more, very vivid, apparent interpolations or adaptations of, very popular artists' work on a Logic tape. So this time around, I really, really sensed, excuse me, I really, really sensed again that Del the Funky Homo Sapien vibe, in concert with a very large, like, Doom inspiration presence in the production and in some of the rapping. And then when it's not that, we're going with more of like a Wu-Tang-y type side of things, with like some RZA-y production or samples with some very Ghostface Killah kind of flashy rapping going on over a lot of these songs. And so, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that all the time. Like, when I can sort of read right off the page, like, oh, it kind of feels like Logic is referencing this or talking about that, or he clearly was listening to this album when he was thinking about this song or whatever. But what I did end up liking about this project, I do want to talk about some of the things I liked about this project, because we all kind of know how Logic conversations get in internet music communities. It's pretty divisive. Some people are more of the mindset of like, what's not to like about Logic, right? He raps fast, is flashy, definitely isn't a mumble rapper. Usually chooses pretty good, cool beats and likes to kind of take it back to the roots of hip hop. Definitely loves to pay homage to that golden era of the genre and all that kind of thing. I think, that's I understand that. I also understand people who kind of feel like, man, for how potentially talented he may be, he kind of underachieves that level of ability quite a lot. And if you're like me, if I'm being honest, like I just don't always think he's been the best decision maker in hip hop music. Again, definitely a talented, a gifted, an interesting rapper, but tends to either evoke other artists so much or honestly downright sabotage his own lyrics and verses and music to the point where while I absolutely understand fucking with Logic, because I fuck with Logic, there just really isn't a conversation to be had about him being an elite rapper. And I say that because a lot of the times the people that Logic is sort of telling you he's influenced by or, showing you he's influenced by, a lot of times these artists that he's doing that with are usually more talented, more gifted than he is. And I say that because they had to be original to do what they did, right? Doom and Wu-Tang and Dell and Kendrick and a lot of other people and A Tribe Called Quest and all this stuff, they had to be these really individual, really original acts and to really spur new lanes in hip hop and do things that people just hadn't really seen before. And while I do think Logic has the rapping chops to sort of hang with some of the really good rappers of our time, he just kind of has consistently been one of the least creative people with the highest skill cap of abilities in terms of his ability to rap and produce and put music out. That's kind of been my personal prerogative on him, and I think that kind of shines through on this project. Now, I don't want to straight slam this thing, I actually enjoyed quite a bit of Planetary Destruction, contrary to how I just sounded with all that previous talk. So we'll get into a couple things I like about it. One, I really do find this thing to be a mixtape. I really do think this thing embodies the idea of a mixtape. And there have been some other reviews I've done in the past where I've given the same praise to an artist, and I've kind of explained the fact that, look, they took some chances. They did something kind of different, a little bit more casual, and they also took advantage of the fact that they were releasing something that they are not trying to get paid for. Therefore, if they want to use a sample, if they want to cut in a movie clip, if they want to add in all these extracurriculars, then it makes it something you could only get, on DatPiff in a mixtape space is what I'm saying. By using all these borrowed intellectual properties in the songs themselves, or using, again, movie clips to sort of increase the theatrics of the project and all that. He spent a lot of time doing just that, and so that element of it is really cool. And to sort of give a similar comment that's, I admit, a little backhanded, but it's honest. It's honest how I feel about this. I like this a lot because it has so many of the extracurricular emphasis on the samples, the borrowed material, the references to other movies and songs and things like that, because that takes up a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot of like interluding and skits and stuff going on, and there's that too. There's skits. We have like a whole thought out theme and a whole little mini story going on. It's definitely not crazy elaborate. It's definitely something right out of a Rick and Morty episode, but it's there, and it serves to kind of make this a more entertaining experience overall throughout the entirety of it. So that's cool, and it all just kind of takes it just there's less time of Logic rapping on this project. That's what I'm getting to. there is less of Logic on this project than most of his projects, because we're taking a lot of time to do skits. We're taking a lot of time to just let the interludes or the beats run, or to have there's a lot of features on here as well. There are a lot of songs where we have other people rapping. So, and just in general, there is a lot less Logic on this thing than most Logic projects. And I will argue that less Logic at this particular time is more Logic, because these last few years of him putting out music, it was kind of an onslaught of projects, and not all of them were really any good, in my opinion. He had some really, really bad ones. Mind you, Supermarket EP, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Those two I didn't find that great at all. But this and a project like No Pressure, which was his swan song retirement album, which he's clearly it's halfway in, halfway out of retirement here. Yeah, I mean, this and that are pretty solid, pretty in the right direction of what you kind of hope to see from Logic. But it's not completely short of those things that I tend to find an issue with in most Logic projects. Again, you know, the overuse of the inspiration of other artists or other people in his music, I think, you know, I just wish it was a little toned down, a little more subtle, a little less on the nose. You know, I wish I didn't always feel like I could pick out, like, the album and the era, or maybe even the certain songs that he might have been listening to or been pulling from, like, every time he goes to do something like that. And, you know, again, the whole feel of this thing is, you know, less pressure, more fun. It seems like a bit of a passion project for Logic. I'm sure he's kind of bored at the moment. And this is a nice way to sort of step halfway out of retirement, right? Do something that is definitely a side project, definitely not something to be taken up with the lineage of the rest of your albums and catalog, but and definitely not something that screams like I'm coming back right out of retirement, but lets fans of him know that he's never too far away. So if you're a fan of this guy, I imagine like you probably are just going to enjoy this. This is, I mean, right kind of what you want. And if you're not a fan, I don't think this will necessarily win you over, but I do think this is better than the average Logic project that you've been hearing over the past couple years. And I'll probably just leave it at that. I mean, I can't say much more than, you know, it's alright. It was cool. I didn't hate it. Absolutely didn't hate it. Definitely didn't get all the way through it without hearing any facepalm, please kill me now type lyrics. Definitely a couple song topics that are just like, I get you're doing like a comedy thing, but this isn't really that funny or entertaining, so I'm just going to skip it. Those kinds of moments, you know, it's not perfect, but it's worth checking out if you're willing to go to SoundCloud or DatPiff or wherever you have to go to hear it. Now, again, it's time to switch gears here a little bit. And y'all know I'm not really no authority on rock music. You know I'm not a documented punk enthusiast. I'm really not. However, I do find it really interesting when music that comes out of a certain sector that I'm not really familiar with, I'm not really feeling like I'm an authority on, does speak to me, like outright, right? I hear the music and I like it. Because with a lot of music, I feel like I step into it and I can go, well, this is interesting. It sounds good while it's on, but if I don't really have context surrounding this band or their contemporaries or, you know, their ancestors, if you will, the people that they were, you know, the people that inspired them, that I don't really have like a critical opinion of an album. I can kind of just tell you whether or not I liked how it sounded or not. But again, sometimes music that you're not really super familiar with does come right out and just speak to you on sort of a transcendent level, right? And more of a universal level. And so there were some really universal things that I appreciated about Drunk Tank Pink. Real quick, I have no idea what that title means. It's a funny title. I decided not to look it up. I'm just going to let myself live in mystery with what that means. And if any of y'all want to explain it to me, y'all know where to find me. But, yeah, Drunk Tank Pink, don't get it, whatever. The songs slap. I think this project is really fire. And the reason I think this project is really fire on, to me, a really easy to understand level is because it's a energetic experience throughout. It's a dynamic experience throughout. I felt like whether I was listening to one song and the songs are, you know, willing to, I guess, just be dynamic within themselves, or from song to song, you know, you kind of are getting a nice variance. You're getting a nice change of pace. This album definitely takes you places, but it's not wild. It's not unorthodox. It doesn't really put you behind the eight ball trying to understand what's going on. No, it really just puts you in a pocket and really moves you around the pocket quite often, and just sort of never lets you get too comfortable with what's going on. But it's all in the same relative space. So I enjoyed that. There are some really easy things to like about it. Again, constant energy, but being able to change the pace, being able to change the style of performances and just work in some different grooves, I thought made this a really interesting 11-song, 41-minute project. Not too long, but enough time for you to really round out some of these tracks and for them to have multiple parts, phases to them, and what have you. Songs that I remember liking quite a lot: Human for a Minute and Snow Day. 6-1, pretty epic, with a shorter track. Born in Luton was a really good one. And in general, all the songs on here were really good. Were really, really good. I mean, I kind of just came away with this with very little to not enjoy about it off the rip. And I think it's going to provide me with some more of that context moving forward. More music like this can kind of appeal to me better, basing off of having something that I like, something that I know I like, and I can kind of judge other albums or my experience from other albums that are sort of like this with this. So, Shame, Drunk Tank Pink. I enjoyed it. If you liked the Viagra Boys album that we talked a couple weeks ago, I mean, this is definitely not that. I think it's a little better than that. I think it's a little bit more organized. I think it's a little bit more, you know, this is like a 6-person band. So there's like a nice level of coordination of the playing of instruments going on here. I mean, everything sounds fucking tight, right? And you got 6 different minds coming together for the same song. It's not a ginormous band, but I definitely think that's something not to just stick your nose up at in terms of the actual playing of this record. So, Shame, Drunk Tank Pink, pretty good. Check it out. And finally, like I said, we're going to slide back into the easygoing hip-hop, lyrical, spiritual, miracle side of things with this Lyrics to Go, Volume 2, Kota the Friend, quick piece. Now, you're hearing one beat, and you know right off the rip, these are those like lo-fi chill beats to study and vibe to that you hear on the YouTube Live program like all the time. And that's what kind of the first volume of this series was like. It's really just beats and rhymes. It's real easygoing. It's short. The songs are all under a couple minutes, maybe a minute and a half is like the longest song. Yeah, 10 songs, 15 minutes. So this thing is going like that. It's pretty short ideas, and it's mostly stream of conscious, like getting stuff off your chest type of attitude. And that's what Kota the Friend has been kind of known for in the past. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this project either, because, you know, I don't really love stuff like this. Like when it's on, it's nice, and when you get the right beat, then sure, you know, like this particular one I thought is really cool. Is it anything too crazy? No. Is it anything trying to be too crazy? I think that's the point of this tape, is to not, you know, to really keep it simple. But Kota is already a little. I'm sorry if you're a Kota friend and fan and you're listening to this, but Kota's a little already on the sleepy, boring one-track side of things. So when you kind of distill him down to this mood and this atmosphere, it really only raises that for me. I think the Kota projects that are really going to speak to me are the ones that give me several different ideas and sort of pitch up his ability to make the song, to put the elements of the song together, for him to challenge himself as a substantive lyricist and all that. And not that he's like a crazy, like a rappity rap type. No, he just likes to spit truth from his perspective. And I really appreciate that. But you know, that just comes down to whether or not you really like this rapper and you find them interesting and their life very interesting. And Kota, you know, his substance is also kind of like his talents to me. It's not average, but it's not too far out of the norm of what I would expect from relatively talented musicians, rappers, etc. So this is another one of those projects I feel like, hey, if you're a fan of him, then you're gonna just love the fact that you got 10 new songs, 15 minutes of music, really rotatable, really just quick consumable piece of music. Kind of lets you know what's going on with Kota right now, gives you a couple more, like, you know, Instagram caption worthy bars to sort of live by. And yeah, there's really nothing wrong with that. I personally will be looking forward to like the next Kota project. It's a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more unpredictable or whatever. And I hope that he continues to push himself, but you got to put music out, and sometimes you got to simplify the process to do that. So no hate on this. Shout out to Kota the Friend, and shout out to Doc D, Logic, Planetary Destruction, as well as Shame, Drunk Tank Pink. This has been another very short episode of the podcast, just holding y'all over until we get to that new episode, talk about that Mad Lib, talk about some of the other shit that came out. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. I have to go now. But look forward to more of these episodes coming on in the future, and this will be a great way for me to make sure that most albums that I hear and want to talk to you guys about, that I get a chance to do that. So thank y'all again. Peace out. Holla at your boy Chicken Nugget Man. We are out of here. Season 5, episode 23 on the motherfucking way. Let's go. Peace.